Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Cheating Tales Lab. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world are you watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story. The rhythmic splash of water and excited chatter of children filled the air as Kyle Joyce watched his daughter Emma execute a perfect butterfly stroke across the pool. His trained eye caught the slight adjustment needed in her shoulder rotation, but pride swelled in his chest at her determination. At 11, she was already showing the dedication that would take her far in competitive swimming. His phone buzzed with a message from his wife. "Sorry, can't make it to practice again. Emergency meeting with Saul about the Richardson development." "Don't wait up." Kyle's jaw tightened imperceptibly as he deleted the message. Third missed practice this week. He glanced at Emma, grateful she was too focused on her training to check if her mother had arrived. "Beautiful form, Emma," Coach Sally Daniel called out. "Just remember to keep those shoulders loose on the rotation." Later that evening, at his pediatric physical therapy clinic, Kyle worked with 6-year-old Marcus, who was making remarkable progress after a severe car accident. "That's it, buddy," Kyle encouraged, supporting the boy's weight as he took tentative steps. "You're doing great." Faith Bruce, his clinic manager, appeared in the doorway. "Kyle, got a minute?" Corporate sent another email about the buyout offer. "After I finish with Marcus," Kyle replied, maintaining his focus on the child's progress. Marcus's mother watched anxiously from her chair, and Kyle gave her a reassuring smile. 20 minutes later, in his office, Faith handed him the printed email. "They're getting aggressive, threatening to open a competing clinic 2 blocks away if you don't sell." Kyle scanned the document, his expression hardening. They'd turn this into an assembly line. 15-minute sessions, standardized treatment plans, insurance-dictated care. Everything I've fought against. "We both know what happens to kids like Marcus under corporate care," Faith agreed, leaning against his desk. "But they're offering serious money, Kyle." "Money isn't everything." He set the paper aside. "How's the Williams case progressing?" Faith started to respond when Kyle's phone lit up with a text from Emma. "Dad, I qualified for states." "Where's Mom?" Kyle's stomach clenched. Marilyn had promised to be there for this meet. He'd reminded her 3 times this morning. "Everything okay?" Faith asked, noting his expression. Marilyn missed Emma's qualifying meet. Kyle ran a hand through his hair. "Another emergency with Saul Wiley." Faith's face remained carefully neutral. "The new boss who's been keeping her late every night?" "The same." Kyle pulled up his calendar. "She's missed 8 of Emma's events since he took over 2 months ago." "People talk, you know," Faith said carefully. "At the real estate office." Kyle looked up sharply. "What kind of talk?" "Just observations. Late meetings, closed doors. The way he looks at her in public." Faith hesitated. "And the way she lets him." The first concrete piece of evidence came on a Tuesday afternoon. Faith was leaving a client lunch when she spotted Marilyn's distinctive red Tesla parked at the Westbrook Hotel at 2 p.m., during what was supposed to be a board meeting at her office. Faith's hand shook slightly as she snapped a photo. She'd known Kyle since college, watched him build his practice from nothing, seen his dedication to every child who came through his doors. He didn't deserve this. Later that week, Emma burst into Kyle's office after school, her backpack still on. "Dad, you'll never guess who I saw today." Kyle looked up from his paperwork. "Who's that?" "Sweetheart, Mom and Uncle Saul. They were having lunch at Castellano's when I walked by with Jenny after early dismissal." Emma dropped into a chair. "Mom looked really surprised to see me. Like, really surprised. She said they were having a work lunch, but..." She frowned. "She didn't know we had early dismissal today?" Kyle kept his expression neutral. "Did she say anything else?" "No, she just kept saying it was a work thing." "But Dad..." Emma lowered her voice. Uncle Saul had his hand on her arm. Like, not in a work way. That night, after Emma was asleep, Kyle sat in his home office reviewing credit card statements. The charges jumped out at him. La Pearl Boutique, $430. The Westbrook Hotel, $289. The Grand Marina Hotel, $315. All on days he'd been working late at the clinic. His phone buzzed with a text from Faith. "Check your email. Security footage from last week." I'm sorry. The video was grainy but clear enough. Marilyn entering Saul's office at 9:47 p.m., leaving at 1:23 a.m., her hair disheveled, his tie loose. Kyle's hands didn't shake as he downloaded and saved the file. His voice was steady when he called his lawyer the next morning to schedule a consultation. The final confirmation came through Emma, ironically. She'd borrowed Marilyn's iPad for a school project when the messages started popping up. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. S. Missing your touch already. These meetings are torture when I can't have you. S. Soon, baby. Kyle's working late again Thursday. The usual place? M. Emma, confused and disturbed, brought the iPad to her father. Kyle took screenshots, his heart breaking for his daughter even as his resolve hardened. The initial confrontation happened on a Sunday evening. Emma was at a sleepover, and Kyle had spent the day gathering his evidence and consulting with his lawyer. We need to talk about Saul, Kyle said as Marilyn scrolled through her phone on the couch. She didn't look up. What about him? About your affair with him. Now she looked up, her face a mask of practiced innocence that quickly shifted to defensive anger. It was one mistake, Kyle. One drunken mistake that meant nothing. Really? Kyle's voice was ice. One mistake that's been happening for months. In multiple hotels? Color drained from Marilyn's face. You've been spying on me? No, you've been careless. And Emma saw you. She's just a child. She doesn't understand. She understands enough. Kyle pulled out his phone. Want to explain these messages? Or the hotel charges? Or maybe the security footage? Marilyn's mask cracked. You sanctimonious bastard. You think you're so perfect with your little charity clinic and your holier-than-thou attitude about patient care. At least Saul understands ambition. Ambition? Kyle's laugh was cold. Is that what you call sleeping your way up the corporate ladder? You're just jealous because I make real money while you play savior to crippled kids. The words hung in the air like poison. Get out, Kyle said quietly. Now. This is my house too. The house I bought before we married? With my inheritance? That house. Kyle's smile was razor-sharp. You have 30 minutes to pack a bag. Then I'm changing the locks. That's when Alberta Merritt, Marilyn's mother, launched her attack. She'd arrived unannounced, clearly summoned by a crying phone call from Marilyn. How dare you throw my daughter out? Alberta shrieked, bursting into the house. After all she's sacrificed for you. Working those long hours to support your little vanity project of a clinic. Kyle stood his ground. Your daughter is having an affair with her boss. She's neglected Emma for months. And now she's trying to paint herself as the victim. Because she is. Alberta advanced on him. If you'd been a proper husband, given her the attention she deserved. The attention she deserves? Kyle's voice rose slightly. Like the attention she gives Emma? When was the last time she attended a swim meet? A parent-teacher conference? Hell, when was the last time she made dinner for her daughter? Don't you dare question her mothering. Alberta spat. Emma would choose her over you any day. Marilyn, who had been watching the exchange with calculated tears, suddenly smiled. It was an ugly expression that revealed her true nature. She's right, Marilyn said coldly. I'm her mother. I have money, influence. Connections. What do you have? A failing clinic and a hero complex? No judge will side with you. We'll see about that, Kyle replied calmly. Now get out of my house before I call the police. The final betrayal came from Drew O'Connor, Kyle's friend of 15 years. They met for coffee at Drew's insistence. I need to tell you something, Drew said, staring into his cup. I've known about Marilyn and Saul. For months. Kyle's face remained impassive. And you didn't think to tell me? I was trying to protect you, man. You've got so much on your plate with the clinic and Emma. Protect me? Kyle's voice was deadly quiet. By watching my wife make a fool of me? By letting my daughter get hurt? It's not that simple. Actually, it is. Kyle stood up. You chose sides, Drew. You chose wrong. As he walked out of the coffee shop, his phone buzzed with messages from mutual friends. They'd heard Marilyn's version. Kyle was controlling, emotionally unavailable, married to his work. They believed her. Kyle blocked their numbers one by one, his resolve strengthening with each deletion. He had all the evidence he needed. Now it was time to plan his next move. Emma was waiting when he got home, curled up on the couch with her swim team hoodie. "Dad?" Her voice was small. "Is Mom coming back?" Kyle sat beside her, pulling her close. "Not right now, sweetheart. But I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this together." "I know, Dad." Emma hugged him tight. "I saw the messages on her iPad. I'm not stupid. She chose him over us, didn't she?" Kyle's heart broke and reformed, stronger and more determined. "Some people make bad choices, Em. But that's on them, not us. Want to help me make dinner?" As they moved to the kitchen, Kyle's phone lit up with a text from Faith. "Just heard what happened. Need anything?" He looked at Emma, already pulling ingredients from the fridge, and typed back, "Just your friendship." For now, the pieces were in place. Marilyn had shown her true colors. Now it was time to make her face the consequences of her choices. But first, he had a daughter to take care of and a clinic to protect. Kyle Joyce might be just a physical therapist in Marilyn's eyes, but he was about to show her exactly what kind of man she'd underestimated. The morning after throwing Marilyn out, Kyle sat in his office reviewing financial statements when Faith knocked on his door. "You need to see this," she said, placing a business card on his desk. "Dr. Rachel Lake, Saul Wiley's wife." Kyle studied the card. "Pediatrician at Eastbrook Children's Hospital. She called the clinic asking to meet you. Says it's personal, not professional." Faith lowered her voice. "She knows, Kyle." The meeting was arranged at a small coffee shop across town. Rachel Lake proved to be a sharp-featured woman with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She got straight to the point. "How long have you known?" she asked, stirring her untouched coffee. "About 2 months. You?" "Suspected for 6. Rachel's smile was bitter. "Saul's not as clever as he thinks. This is his pattern. Young executives, usually married. Makes them feel special, powerful, until he discards them." Kyle leaned forward. "Tell me more." 2 previous affairs with employees. Both ended in NDAs and generous severance packages. Rachel pulled out a manila envelope. "The companies buried it to avoid scandal. But I kept copies." "Why show me this?" "Because this time he picked the wrong target." Rachel's eyes hardened. "Your wife may be willing to destroy her family for him, but I'm done protecting his reputation." Their alliance formed over the next hour. Rachel had resources, connections, and 20 years of documented evidence. Kyle had Faith's security footage and Emma's iPad messages. "There's someone else you should meet," Kyle said, making a call. "Heidi Carey, my lawyer." Heidi arrived 20 minutes later, a force of nature in a tailored suit. "Dr. Lake, your husband handled my daughter's physical therapy 5 years ago," she explained, sitting down. "Best care she ever received. That's why I'm handling both your cases pro bono." "Both cases?" Rachel asked. "Divorce and corporate malfeasance." Heidi's smile was predatory. "Kyle's evidence plus your documentation? We're going to destroy them." Back at the clinic, Faith compiled everything. Security footage, emails, witness statements from office staff who'd seen Marilyn and Saul's meetings. Sally Daniel called. Faith mentioned. Organizing files. Emma's swim coach? She's documented every meet Marilyn's missed, every practice she skipped. Says she'll testify if needed. Kyle nodded, reviewing the growing evidence. "They thought I'd just roll over and take it. That I'd be too afraid of losing Emma to fight back. They don't know you very well, do they?" Faith's hand brushed his shoulder briefly. "No," Kyle agreed. "They really don't." The security system installation took half a day. Every entrance covered, the technician confirmed. Audio and video recording, motion sensors, remote monitoring. Everything uploads automatically to secure cloud storage. Kyle handed him a check. "Perfect." Dr. Eileen Castro's child psychology practice came highly recommended. She met with Emma while Kyle waited outside. "She's angry," Dr. Castro reported afterward. "Not at you. At her mother's betrayal. She feels abandoned, replaced." These sessions will help document the emotional impact. "How's she really doing?" Kyle asked, paternal concern breaking through his calculated demeanor. "She's resilient. Having your stable presence helps enormously." Dr. Castro's expression turned professional. I'm documenting everything for the custody hearing. Marilyn's behavior patterns, Emma's emotional state, your consistent involvement. The court will have a clear picture. That afternoon, Kyle met with his financial advisor. Half the joint assets were transferred to protected accounts, completely legal, given the circumstances. The advisor had worked with enough divorce cases to know the drill. She'll try to drain the accounts when she realizes what's happening, he warned. Let her try, Kyle replied. Everything's documented. Rachel's investigation into Saul's business practices yielded gold. Look at these property deals, she said during their next meeting. Ethical violations everywhere. Insider trading, kickbacks, manipulated valuations. He's been using his affairs to keep people quiet. And Marilyn? Complicit. Rachel's disgust was evident. She's been helping him hide the paperwork. That's why he targeted her. He needed someone in real estate who'd play along. Kyle maintained meticulous records of his parenting duties. Every school pickup, every meal prepared, every homework session helped. Emma's activities filled his calendar. Swim practice, doctor appointments, tutoring. Marilyn's attempts at gaslighting grew more frequent. She'd change plans last minute, then deny they'd ever been made. Each incident was recorded, documented, timed. I told you I'd take Emma this weekend, she'd insist. No, you said next weekend, Kyle would reply calmly, recording everything. You're trying to turn her against me. You're doing that yourself, Marilyn. Alberta proved to be a problem. She showed up unannounced one afternoon while Emma was doing homework. I'm taking my granddaughter shopping, she announced, barging in. No, you're not, Kyle said firmly. You don't have permission to take her anywhere. I don't need permission. I'm her grandmother. You need my permission. Kyle's voice was steel. And after your little performance at dinner, you're not getting it. How dare you? The security system is recording, Alberta. Every word, every action. Keep that in mind. She left in a fury, but the incident was preserved. Another piece of evidence for the custody hearing. The invitation arrived on expensive cardstock. Marilyn's 37th birthday celebration at Le Maison, the city's most exclusive hotel. Quite a guest list, Rachel remarked, reviewing the names. Board members, social climbers, everyone who's been enabling their affair. She's gathering her witnesses. Sources say she's planning some kind of announcement, Heidi added, painting herself as the victim of a loveless marriage, forced to find happiness elsewhere. Kyle's laugh was cold. Is that her play? Not just hers. Rachel's expression was grim. Saul's planning to announce our divorce. He'll blame my emotional instability, classic gaslighting. Make it seem like I drove him to cheat. Perfect timing, Heidi said. Everything's ready. HR department, real estate board, family court. All the evidence packages are prepared. Emma's spending that weekend with your parents? Rachel confirmed. Kyle nodded. They'll keep her safe while we finish this. The final pieces fell into place. Process servers were arranged, disguised as hotel staff. Key witnesses were positioned. Everything was documented, time-stamped, legally bulletproof. You realize there's no going back from this, Faith said quietly as they reviewed the final preparations. Kyle thought of Emma's face when she saw those messages. Thought of Marilyn's cruel words, her threats about custody. Thought of every missed meet, every broken promise, every lie. Good, he replied. That's exactly what I want. Rachel squeezed his shoulder. They thought we'd be easy targets. The devoted father too afraid of losing his daughter to fight. The doctor's wife too concerned with appearances to make a scene. Their mistake, Kyle said simply. The trap was set. Everything was in place. Now they just had to wait for Marilyn's birthday party and watch their carefully orchestrated plan unfold. As Kyle tucked Emma in that night before she left for his parents' house, she hugged him tight. You're not letting Mom take me away, are you, Dad? Never, he promised. Some battles are worth fighting. You're worth every single one. He closed her door and checked his phone. Messages from Heidi, Rachel, and Faith confirmed everything was ready. In 2 days, Marilyn and Saul would learn exactly what happened when they underestimated the wrong people. Kyle smiled, thinking of Emma's words from months ago. I'm not stupid. She chose him over us. Well, now they'd all face the consequences of that choice. The party invitations sat on his desk, mocking in their elegance. Soon, that expensive cardstock would be the least of Marilyn's concerns. Kyle had built his career helping children overcome seemingly impossible challenges. Now he'd use that same patience, that same strategic thinking, to protect his daughter and destroy those who tried to hurt her. Let them think he was weak. Let them believe their lies. The trap was set, and this time, there would be no escape. Lou Maison's grand ballroom sparkled with expensive decorations and even more expensive guests. Marilyn held court near the champagne fountain, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Saul Wiley stood nearby, his proprietary smile barely disguising his smugness. "And here's to my beautiful daughter," Alberta Merritt's voice carried across the room as she raised her glass. "Who showed such strength in the face of neglect and isolation." From their observation point in the hotel lobby, Kyle and Rachel watched the security feed on Faith's tablet. "Your mother-in-law has quite the imagination," Rachel remarked dryly. "Oh, she's just warming up," Kyle replied, checking his watch. "Ready?" Rachel smoothed her elegant black dress. "Born ready." Inside, Alberta continued her performance. "A mother's love is sacred. When Marilyn came to me, devastated by years of emotional abandonment," the ballroom doors opened. Heads turned as Kyle and Rachel made their calculated entrance. Marilyn's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. "Now," Kyle spoke quietly into his earpiece. The servers, carefully selected process servers in disguise, moved with practiced precision. 3 approached Marilyn simultaneously, another 2 converged on Saul. Papers were served with quiet professionalism. "What is this?" Marilyn's voice rose shrilly as she stared at the documents. "You dare crash my party, Mrs. Joyce," one server interrupted politely. "You've been served with divorce papers, a custody suit, and a corporate ethics violation notice." Saul's face purpled as he received his own stack. "This is ridiculous. I'll have your jobs for." "Mr. Wiley," another server continued calmly, "you've been served with divorce papers, a corporate ethics investigation notice, and documentation of workplace harassment violations." Kyle's team moved efficiently through the crowd. The HR representative received detailed documentation of the affair and its impact on workplace dynamics. Board members were handed evidence of ethical violations. The family court mediator received comprehensive documentation of Marilyn's parental neglect. Phones emerged from pockets and purses, recording everything. Marilyn's carefully maintained mask cracked completely. "You bastard!" she shrieked at Kyle. "You planned this?" Hotel rooms and secret messages. About using corporate resources to hide affairs. The crowd murmured, papers rustling as people read the evidence. "You're lying." Marilyn's voice cracked. "He's lying. I'm a good mother." "The records say otherwise," Kyle replied. "Every missed event, every broken promise, every time you chose your affair over our daughter. It's all documented." The ballroom had become very quiet except for the sound of papers being reviewed and phones recording. "Get out," Marilyn screamed. "Get out of my party." "Your party?" Kyle smiled coldly. "I think it just became a business meeting. You might want to start explaining those property deals to your board members." The real estate board's ethics investigation moved with unusual speed, perhaps motivated by the viral videos of Saul's threatening behavior at the party. Previous NDAs have surfaced, Heidi reported during their strategy meeting. 2 former employees came forward after seeing the party footage. "Turns out money can't quite buy silence forever, especially when they smell blood in the water," Rachel added with satisfaction. The custody hearing was equally decisive. Alberta's recorded threats from the security system played clearly for the judge. "I'll take that child whether you like it or not," her voice rang through the courtroom. "You have no right to keep her from us." Kyle's documented involvement in Emma's life created a stark contrast. Every swim meet attended, every doctor's appointment managed, every school event supported, while Marilyn's absences mounted. Dr. Castro's professional testimony proved devastating. Emma exhibits clear signs of emotional abandonment from her mother, compounded by the discovery of the affair. Mrs. Joyce's pattern of choosing her relationship with Mr. Wiley over her daughter's needs has caused significant trauma. Drew's attempt to defend Marilyn backfired spectacularly when Kyle's lawyer cross-examined him. So you knew about the affair for months? I was trying to protect. Yes or no, Mr. O'Connor? Did you knowingly help conceal this situation?
Yes.
While watching Emma suffer, Drew's silence spoke volumes. The corporate investigation revealed deeper corruption than anyone expected. Marilyn's financial misconduct with company resources became impossible to ignore. She used corporate accounts to book hotel rooms, the forensic accountant testified. Falsified expense reports to hide gifts. Used company cars for personal meetings. Kyle's clinic received an unexpected surge of support when the story broke. Former patients' families rallied around him, sharing stories of his dedication and care. He spent extra hours with my son, one mother told the local news. Never rushed us, never compromised care for profit. And they wanted to force him out? Shame on them. The corporate healthcare provider quietly withdrew their buyout attempt. The judge's ruling was unequivocal. Primary custody is awarded to Kyle Joyce. Mrs. Joyce will have supervised visitation only, pending completion of parenting classes and counseling. Emma's response was to hug her father tightly. Can we get ice cream? Kyle laughed, his first genuine laugh in months. Absolutely. The state swimming championship became Emma's moment of triumph. Kyle and Faith cheered from the stands as she touched the wall first, setting a new personal record. That's my girl, Kyle said proudly. Faith's hand found his. She's amazing. Like her father. Saul's firing made headlines, especially after the harassment suits went public. Marilyn lost her executive position the same day, forced to accept a lower-level position at a smaller firm in another city. Alberta's attempts to contact Emma were firmly blocked. The restraining order is quite clear. Kyle told the security guard at Emma's school. No unsupervised contact. The partnership between Kyle's clinic and Rachel's pediatric practice created an innovative new therapy program. We're helping twice as many kids now, Rachel noted during their opening celebration. Some good came from all this. Emma's 12th birthday party filled Kyle's backyard with real friends, people who had stood by them through everything. Sally Daniel brought the swim team. Faith organized games. Rachel's children mixed easily with Emma's school friends. A package arrived that morning, Marilyn's attempt at manipulation. An expensive gift with a tearful card about healing our family. What should we do with it? Emma asked. Kyle smiled. I was thinking the children's hospital could use it more. Emma hugged him. Good call, Dad. Later, as Kyle cleaned up after the party, Faith helped gather decorations. Emma mentioned wanting to visit the coast this summer, she said casually. She loves the beach. Kyle looked at her thoughtfully. Would you like to join us? Faith's smile was answer enough. The party aftermath sparkled with possibility, not just of new beginnings, but of victories well-earned and battles correctly fought. Kyle had protected what mattered most, destroyed those who threatened it, and emerged stronger. Sometimes the best revenge wasn't just success. It was success built on unwavering principle and patient strength. As he watched Faith and Emma laughing together over the last piece of birthday cake, Kyle knew he'd chosen exactly the right path. Dad, Emma called. Faith's never been surfing. Can we teach her this summer? Kyle met Faith's eyes across the room. I think that's an excellent idea. The future stretched bright before them, free from manipulation and lies. They'd earned every bit of it. Epilogue. 5 years later. A warm spring breeze carried the scent of blooming roses through Kyle's expanded clinic courtyard. The therapeutic garden, a joint project with Rachel's pediatric practice, buzzed with activity as children worked on their motor skills through gardening. Faith watched from their shared office as Kyle guided a young patient through balance exercises. After 5 years of marriage, she still admired his unwavering dedication to his patients. Their wedding had been small but joyful, with 16-year-old Emma as maid of honor and Rachel's children in the wedding party. Dad's doing the thing again, Emma commented, joining Faith at the window. Fresh from swim practice, she'd grown into a striking young woman, recently accepted to Stanford on a swimming scholarship. The thing? Faith smiled, knowing exactly what Emma meant. Where he spends extra time with the kids who remind him of me at that age. Emma's own smile was understanding. He never could resist helping the determined ones. The clinic had become a model for ethical pediatric care, featured in medical journals and studied by healthcare providers nationwide. The corporate buyout attempt felt like ancient history, especially after their innovative therapy program garnered national attention. Rachel entered, carrying fresh coffee. At 47, she'd found her own happiness, recently engaged to a fellow pediatrician who understood her dedication to her patients. "Quarterly numbers are in," she announced. "Our joint practice is outperforming every corporate healthcare center in the state. Success through integrity," Faith quoted their unofficial motto. "How's the new therapy wing coming along?" "On schedule. The sensory garden should be ready for summer sessions." Rachel paused, checking her phone. "Oh, you'll love this. Guess who's trying to rebuild her reputation again?" Faith raised an eyebrow. "Marilyn?" Posted another heartfelt apology on social media. Claims she's grown and learned from her mistakes. Rachel's tone dripped sarcasm. "The comments are not kind." 5 years hadn't been gentle to Marilyn Joyce, formerly Wiley. After losing her executive position, she'd bounced between smaller firms, her reputation following her like a shadow. Her supervised visitation with Emma had ended when Emma turned 14 and firmly refused further contact. "She sent another birthday card last week," Emma mentioned casually. "Dad and I donated it to the Children's Hospital, like always." Saul Wiley's fall had been even more spectacular. The harassment suits had multiplied once victims realized they weren't alone. His legal fees had drained his savings, and his attempts to rebuild his career were consistently thwarted by his own documented behavior. He tried applying for a position at Western Real Estate, Rachel shared. They Googled his name and ended the interview in 5 minutes. The last they'd heard, Saul and Marilyn had tried reconnecting, a desperate attempt to reclaim their former glory. It had ended predictably, with Saul being caught with another younger executive and Marilyn facing fresh humiliation. Alberta Merritt had never accepted her reduced circumstances. Her attempts to contact Emma through social media had earned her a restraining order extension. Now she spent her time writing bitter blog posts about parental alienation that nobody read. "Remember Drew?" Emma asked suddenly. "He came into the coffee shop yesterday, tried to make small talk about old times. How's he doing?" Faith asked, though she knew the story. "Working entry-level sales at some startup. Turns out being known as the guy who helped cover up workplace harassment isn't great for your career." Emma shrugged. "He asked about Mom. Actually, I told him I already had all the parents I needed." Faith hugged her stepdaughter, heart swelling. Their relationship had grown naturally, built on respect and genuine care rather than forced connections. The therapy garden continued flourishing, much like their blended family. Kyle's patient philosophy had transformed into a comprehensive treatment approach that prioritized long-term care over quick profits. The waiting list for their clinic grew longer each month. "Hey," Kyle entered the office, finished with his patient. "What's everyone doing in here?" "Watching you work your magic," Faith replied, accepting his quick kiss. "And sharing news. Stanford sent Emma's housing information." "Already?" Kyle looked at his daughter proudly. "Seems like yesterday you were that determined 11-year-old who wouldn't give up on her butterfly stroke." "Well, someone taught me about persistence," Emma smiled. "And integrity. And choosing the right battles." Rachel checked her watch. "Speaking of battles, we should head to the board meeting. They're voting on implementing our therapy program across the hospital network." As they gathered their materials, Kyle paused to look around his office. Photos tracked their family's growth. Emma's state championships, his wedding to Faith, family vacations, Rachel's engagement party, clinic expansions, graduation ceremonies. Each image represented a victory built on principle rather than compromise. "Coming to dinner tonight?" he asked Rachel. "The kids want to hear more stories about their favorite aunt's medical school adventures." "Wouldn't miss it," Rachel replied. "Someone needs to balance out all these swimming stories." They walked together through the therapy garden, passing children who were healing and growing stronger every day. The scent of roses followed them, a reminder of how beauty could flourish in unexpected places. Later that evening, their home filled with laughter as their extended family gathered for their traditional weekly dinner. Kyle watched Emma demonstrating proper swimming technique to Rachel's youngest, while Faith and Rachel debated the merits of different therapy approaches. His phone buzzed, another desperate message from Marilyn. sent through a mutual acquaintance. Something about regret and second chances. Kyle deleted it without reading further. Some chapters were better left closed. Dad, Emma called. Tell them about the time you and Faith got lost trying to find that surfing spot. Kyle joined his family, leaving thoughts of the past behind. They built something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal, a testament to the power of choosing right over easy, integrity over compromise. Success, they learned, wasn't just about winning. It was about winning on your own terms, staying true to your principles even when the easy path beckoned. Their happiness wasn't revenge. It was justice, earned through unwavering strength and patient determination. The roses in their garden bloomed stronger each year, their roots deep and stable, just like their family, built on trust, nourished by love, and strengthened by the storms they'd weathered together. Faith caught his eye across the room, her smile saying everything words couldn't. They'd chosen their paths, fought their battles, and emerged stronger. Together. And that, Kyle reflected as he looked at his thriving family, was the greatest victory of all.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy the story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.